Success doesn't always belong to the people who deserve it. Sometimes, it belongs to the ones who survive long enough to fit the moment. Blue Moon is not a story about Broadway's greatest hit. It's a story about the man who helped shape an era of music, only to be left behind when the world moved on without him. This is a film about talent without timing, love without return, and what it feels like to watch your legacy slip through your fingers. On March 31st, 1943, Oklahoma opens on Broadway and becomes an instant hit. But Lorenz Hart, the man who used to write hit songs with Richard Rodgers, slips away before the celebration even begins. He chooses not to be there for the biggest night of his former partner's life. This scene sets up absence. Lorenz Hart is missing from the success he helped make possible. Oklahoma represents the future of Broadway, while Hart is stuck in the past. His exit shows how far he has already fallen out of the world he once ruled. Hart arrives at Sardi's restaurant, where the after-party will happen. The staff prepares for the celebration and Hart feels at home here. This is a place where he can talk, drink, and perform without being on stage.
Okay, best line in Casablanca. Nobody ever loved me that much. Isn't that magnificent? 6 words. Nobody ever loved me that much. And really, who's ever been loved enough? Who's ever been loved half enough?
Sardi's becomes a limbo space, not success nor failure. It mirrors Hart's life, waiting, stalled, and unsure. While Broadway moves forward, Hart stays still. Hart talks endlessly with Eddie the bartender and Morty the piano player. He's newly sober, but clearly struggling. Eddie refuses to serve him alcohol, while Morty listens as Hart jokes, complains, and brags. Eddie represents control and restraint, while Morty represents art without recognition. Hart sees himself in both men. Sobriety here is not healing. It feels like punishment. Hart vents about Oklahoma. He admits he was asked to write it, but turned it down. But now it's a massive hit, so he mocks it, but the pain is obvious. This moment explores pride versus regret. His words say he doesn't care, but his tone says otherwise. Oklahoma symbolizes the road not taken and the life he might have had. Hart calls himself omnisexual and flirts with a flower delivery boy. His charm is playful, but also sad. He wants to be seen and desired. Hart's sexuality is about freedom and confusion. He lives in a world that doesn't fully accept him. His flirting is less about attraction and more about proving he still matters. Hart talks about Elizabeth, a 20-year-old Yale student. He believes tonight is the night he'll finally win her love. He has gifts, stories, and even a card trick planned. Elizabeth represents hope and illusion. She is youth, future, and meaning, all things Hart feels are slipping away from him. The card trick hints at self-deception. Hart is trying to make love appear through magic. Hart notices writer E.B. White nearby. They talk shop. Hart tells a strange story about a mouse that keeps coming back to his apartment. White asks its name, and Hart says Stuart. This scene shows unseen legacy. Hart inspires others without knowing it. The mouse mirrors Hart himself. Small, ignored, but persistent. His influence lives on, even as his career fades away. Rodgers arrives with Hammerstein and a crowd of admirers. Rodgers pulls Hart aside and suggests working together again on a revival of their old shows. This is the past knocking on the door. Rodgers offers Hart a lifeline, but it's tied to old work, not new dreams. Hart wants more than survival. He wants greatness again. Hart pitches a big, wild idea, a musical about Marco Polo.
Marco Polo is going to be a show about joy, but a hard-earned joy, an unsentimental joy.
Something wrong with sentimental?
Well, it's too easy.
Oklahoma's too easy? The guy actually getting the girl in the end is too easy?
Rodgers listens, but doesn't fully trust Hart anymore because of his drinking and depression. Hart wants to go somewhere new, far away from his pain. But Rodgers sees this dream as unrealistic. In the restroom, Hart tells Morty about proposing to a woman who didn't love him that way. It broke him. Here, Hart admits that rejection defines him. Love, not fame, is his deepest wound. Reviews for Oklahoma pour in. Hart tries to congratulate Rodgers, but can't hide his bitterness. Rodgers senses it immediately. Success becomes salt in the wound. This scene shows how praise for others can feel like punishment when you feel left behind. Hart bonds with Eddie over their love of Casablanca, a story about love that can't last. Casablanca mirrors Hart's life, loving deeply, losing anyway, and pretending it was noble. Hart hides behind romantic tragedy to justify his pain. Hart congratulates Hammerstein, who is already planning the next show with Rodgers. He introduces his young protege. Youth replaces age, the future replaces the past, and Hart realizes the world doesn't wait for anyone, not even legends like him. Hart pulls Elizabeth aside. She tells him about sleeping with another student. Even though the boy left her, she still loves him.
Men sometimes can't perform because they're too nervous. I wish I could believe that to feel a little bit better about myself, but he was not nervous. Not in the least. He had his eyes shut as if he were trying to dream me into somebody he really wanted.
The coat room is a small, hidden space, like Hart's heart. He finally hears the truth, and it destroys the fantasy he's been living in. Elizabeth tells Hart she loves him, but not romantically. She also mentions his semi-closeted reputation. This is the film's emotional breaking point. Hart is rejected again, not just as a lover, but as a man who fits nowhere. Hart introduces Elizabeth to Rodgers. Rodgers gives her his private number and leaves with her. Rodgers doesn't just take Hart's career, he takes his girl as well. He's left watching his life walk away. Hart prepares to leave, but Morty plays one of his old hits. Hart stays, and he has one last drink with Eddie and tells another story as the restaurant closes. Music is Hart's true legacy. Even at the end, his words still fill the room. But the restaurant closing symbolizes time running out. 7 months later, Hart collapses drunk in the street, and he dies days later. Rodgers and Hammerstein go on to become Broadway legends. The ending is about forgotten greatness. History moves forward and leaves Hart behind, but the film itself becomes his voice, finally letting him be seen. Blue Moon is not about failure. It's about being human in a world that only celebrates winners. Lorenz Hart didn't lose his talent. He lost his place, his love, and his belief that he still mattered. And sometimes, that hurts even more than dying. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.